Welcome to my channel, USA Battle Zone. Where courage meets the impossible, where honor is forged in fire, and where every story reminds us heroes are not born, they are made. Today's story is about a young woman who walked into a world that didn't want her there. A world of steel, discipline, and pride, the United States Navy. They called her Lieutenant Sarah Holt. But before the end of this story, the world would know her by another name. A name that even the Admiral himself would never forget. Her call sign, Legend. Musical note, soft ocean waves fade in. Sound of a carrier deck, jets roaring in the distance. It was a cloudless morning over the Pacific. The USS Liberty, an aircraft carrier the size of a city, sat glinting under the rising sun. Lieutenant Sarah Holt stood at the edge of the deck, helmet under her arm, the wind tugging at her short brown hair. She had been assigned to Fighter Squadron VFA 219, one of the most elite units in the Navy. But she wasn't exactly welcomed. The pilots called her Rookie. Some, under their breath, said worse. They didn't trust her, not because she lacked skill, but because she was the first woman in the squadron's combat wing. And among the ranks of the proud, that was enough to make her a target. Still, she smiled, saluted, and worked twice as hard as everyone else. That's who Sarah was. The first time she met Admiral Riker, he didn't shake her hand. He looked her up and down and said, "You sure you're in the right place, Lieutenant?" The med bay's 2 decks down. She didn't flinch. "With respect, sir, I earned my wings same as everyone here." He smirked. "We'll see about that." That afternoon, he called an unscheduled readiness drill. Every pilot on deck was ordered to prep their aircraft for immediate launch. It wasn't part of the training schedule, but everyone knew what it really was. A test. Not for the squadron, for her. When the siren blared, Sarah sprinted across the deck, her boots clanging against the steel. The aircrew shouted, mechanics moved like clockwork, and the FA-18 engines began to roar. But when Sarah reached her assigned jet, she saw something was wrong. Her aircraft wasn't fueled. The checklist hadn't been cleared. Someone had sabotaged her. She didn't complain. She didn't point fingers. She grabbed a hose, started fueling herself. Her gloves burned from the metal fittings, her arms trembled from the effort, but she kept going. By the time she was done, every other pilot was already taxiing to the catapult. The Admiral watched from the tower, smirking. But Sarah didn't stop. She jumped into the cockpit, slammed her helmet on, and called to the tower. "Liberty Tower, this is VFA 219, Delta II, request permission for delayed launch." The Admiral's voice came over the radio, cold and mocking. "Permission denied. Drill's over, Lieutenant." Her jaw clenched. She didn't argue. She powered down. Later that night, as she walked through the hangar, she heard laughter behind her. Guess the lieutenant couldn't handle the heat. She turned around. The Admiral himself was there, surrounded by senior officers. "I heard you picked a call sign already," he said. "What was it again?" Sarah didn't answer. "Oh right," he continued with a grin, "you called yourself Legend." The officers chuckled. "Well, Lieutenant, legends usually have something to show for it." He turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the dim light. 3 weeks later, everything changed. At 2 o'clock hours, the USS Liberty received a distress call. A Navy cargo vessel, the Mercy Dawn, had been ambushed by unidentified aircraft near the Philippine Sea. Hostile contacts were approaching fast. The Liberty scrambled all available fighters. Sarah was in the ready room, reviewing flight data, when the klaxon blared. "Scramble, scramble, all pilots to your aircraft." She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her helmet, ran to her jet, this time, fueled, checked, ready. The deck was chaos. Pilots sprinted. Crew shouted coordinates. Steam hissed from the catapult arms. As Sarah climbed into the cockpit, the Admiral's voice came through the comms. "All right, VFA 219, form up and defend the Mercy Dawn. Holt, you stay on standby. You're not cleared for combat." She froze. "Sir, with respect, we need every aircraft up there. We're short 2 pilots already." "Standby means standby, Lieutenant. Do not launch." Her heart pounded. The sky was already filling with streaks of flame-friendly jets roaring off the deck. And then, static. The squadron leader's voice crackled through. "Mayday. We're taking fire." Hostiles are fast movers unidentified, closing fast. We need backup. Sarah's hands gripped the throttle. The Admiral was silent. She could hear the panic, the explosions, the dying comms. And then, she made her choice. Tower, this is Delta 2, she said. Launching. She slammed the throttle to full, and the catapult fired her into the night sky. Musical note: music intensifies drums, violins, roaring jets. The stars blurred as she climbed through the clouds. Radar lit up with hostile contacts: 4 enemy fighters, unknown type, moving fast toward the crippled Mercy Dawn. Sarah switched to squadron frequency. VFA 219, this is Delta 2, I'm inbound. A strained voice answered. Holt, you weren't cleared. I'm cleared now. She armed her missiles and locked onto the lead bogey. Fox 2. The missile streaked out, a trail of light through the darkness, and struck home. The enemy jet vanished in fire. The comms erupted with cheers. Nice shot, Delta 2. But there were still 3 more. Sarah Dove, weaving between tracers, countermeasures exploding around her. Her breathing was steady, her voice calm. Stay on my wing, Bravo 3, she called. We're going high-low split. On my mark. Now. They executed a perfect pincer. 2 more hostiles down. But the last enemy fighter came straight for her. It was faster, more advanced, something she'd never seen before. Missiles locked. Alarms screamed in her cockpit. She rolled left, countered, but the missile clipped her tail. The jet shook violently. Smoke filled the cockpit. Her engine warning lights flashed red. She could eject, or keep fighting. She thought of the Admiral, of the laughter, of the way they all looked at her like she didn't belong. She gritted her teeth, steadied the stick, and whispered, "Not today." She flipped her jet into a dive, let the enemy chase her down, then, at the last second, pulled a high-G Cobra maneuver, flipping upside down and firing a single short-range missile straight into the hostile's belly. Explosion. Silence. The radar cleared. Mission success. Her aircraft was barely holding together, but she managed to guide it back toward the carrier. As she landed, smoke trailing behind her jet, the entire deck crew was frozen. She opened the canopy and climbed out, bruised, covered in oil but alive. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then, one by one, they started clapping. Even the Admiral. The next morning, Sarah was summoned to the Admiral's quarters. She walked in, saluted, and stood silently. Riker looked at her for a long time. There was no mockery in his eyes now, only something else. Pride. And shame. You disobeyed a direct order, he said quietly. Yes, sir. You risked your aircraft, your life, and this ship's standing. Yes, sir. He paused. Then, you also saved 12 sailors on the Mercy Dawn and 3 of my pilots. He stood up, walked to the window, looking out at the ocean. I was wrong about you, Lieutenant. He turned back toward her. You earned your call sign. From this day forward, you're legend. Her eyes glistened. She saluted, voice steady. Thank you, sir. Months later, Sarah Holt's name was written into Navy history. She became one of the most respected pilots in the Pacific Fleet. The Admiral, now retired, often told her story to new recruits, the story of the pilot he'd tried to humiliate, only to be humbled himself. He would say, courage isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the one who keeps going when everyone else says no. That's what makes a legend. And whenever the new pilots asked if she was real, he'd smile faintly and answer, more real than any of you will ever know. Musical note: music softens emotional orchestral swells. Sarah Holt never wanted to be a hero. She just wanted to fly. But sometimes, the sky calls those who dare to rise, and when they answer, they remind us that greatness doesn't come from rank or title. It comes from the heart. In the Navy archives today, her mission report still carries her official call sign. Gov. Lieutenant Governor, Sarah Holt, Legend, and below it, one line handwritten in the Admiral's script. Greater than, she taught us what honor really means. Musical note: music builds to a soft, cinematic crescendo. If this story moved you, if it made you believe in courage, in sacrifice, and in the power of never backing down, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real stories of American heroes right here on USA Battle Zone. Movie camera, music fades out. Jet engines echo softly in the distance.